Now, that also begs the question, would Pokemon be such a big franchise if they made the switch to consoles like earlier? And you'd probably argue probably not. It would probably just become part of like, oh, here's another game on the Wii, rather than here's something on the Game Boy that everyone could bring around.
Uh, no, I think even by this stage, it was it was a household name.
Hmm.
But would this have moved GameCubes in the same way that it moved Switches? I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. Like it is a real kind of like like what sells what in a sense. Like does it goes back to your kind of debate. Like does a video game sell a console for you? And personally, doesn't sell me a console. But I'm also would consider myself quite conservative when it comes to buying consoles. I don't really buy one unless I need to, in a sense. And different now that we have got a YouTube channel, and it kind of helps to have options in terms of what to play and what to play it on. But typically, I've promised myself a Steam Deck for the last 6 months, and I just have not been arsed buying it. I don't care enough. Like I'll get it whenever. There's no fucking rush, you know.
Well, you're talking to me. I am currently regretting buying my PS5 at this stage.
But probably because you have nothing to play on it. Like you haven't had the time for it. Like again, I only play like 2 or 3 games at most anyway. But then again, it's the irony of running a gaming YouTube channel in the sense where like you're playing for the channel.
Yeah.
I've no more headspace to play anything else. Like the most recent outside of a racing game to wind down, the last game I tried to properly play for myself was Death Stranding. And I'm not thinking to myself, okay, I'm probably just gonna play this for the channel instead, because like it's probably something that we could actually like let's play in a sense, whereas like it's almost interesting enough to be a playthrough, but I have to jazz this up for my own brain because the gameplay is a little bit tedious. So it's like, okay, I need to have like a rolling cast to work with this, you know.
Yeah.
Now again, that is also because like I've been doing this for too long, and my brain is set to too much of a pattern that I can't just sit down and enjoy a game anymore. That's probably why I just stick to racing games, because I know they're not going on the channel, so they're like my own little sanctuary.
Whereas that would probably be this for me. This is I just want to turn my brain off for a little bit and not put in the heavy thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Like again, there's certain games I can just kind of play in autopilot while I'm doing something else, and they are critically underrated in a sense. Like you just like sometimes it is just nice to have something just play for you, and you can just go about your daily business, you know. Well, the moral of the story is, kids, that being adults is hard, and being adults who like video games is even harder. Like, real life refuses to give you time for your hobbies.
Well, real life, you need to force that time for your hobbies.
Yeah, pretty much like. But I will say, like, I have genuinely enjoyed playing through Colosseum. Like it's now that I'm able to kind of like sit down and actually like check out some new content. Like I thrashed this out in a night, and it's like, yeah, this has actually been really good. Like
Wait.
it's
You haven't finished this yet, or have you?
no. No, I just played enough for now, and then I'll clock another bit whenever it suits, you know.
Very good.
So it's a case of like, okay, well, I'll from where I left it last, like I like the way this landed, but it's also a case of like this game actually isn't outstaying its welcome. The plot is going really, really quickly, because I think again, Colosseum is almost like it's almost like a Call of Duty campaign in a sense. You're not really there for the main story. You're there for the fact like you can just play Pokemon competitively and you have real proper graphics. You know, that's what really Colosseum's selling point is. It's basically essentially a backwards or backdoor Pokemon Stadium 3. You know, with just a little bit of plot added in for good measure. And XD is no different. But at least the
as Pokemon Stadium 5.
Yeah, pretty much. But at the very least, like it's nice to have something just to get your money's worth in a sense. Like it's nice to have the main campaign if you like, and then you just like can do whatever you want with this game after that. And also it gives you a good excuse to be able to snag some legendaries in Gen 3 when you just like if you didn't have like gold and silver and you can't import them over.
So the
Like,
annoying thing with that is, so there is it is with this one here. There is no pathway to having more than the basic amount. So there are, I think, 50 individual catches that you can make. So there's 2 boxes worth of catches that you can have.
yeah.
There is no there is no filling your boxes to
Mm,
completion so that you can trade things back and forward with your ruby and sapphire.
yeah.
There is only how many shadows can I catch in this? Okay, that's the amount that I can trade over to ruby and sapphire.
Mm. Like in a weird way, it almost seems like it's like an apology in a sense for like here's all the Pokemon we couldn't fit into Ruby and Sapphire, so here's a companion game to suit. Like it just seems like it seems like such a niche game that ticks multiple boxes. Like we need a Pokemon game for the GameCube. Sold. What do we need? And we're missing all these Pokemon we couldn't like find a reason to be in Ruby and Sapphire, even though they're programmed in. So grand, that's grand. We have a reason then for people to buy this with the Game Boy games. And third all, just because like if some people just genuinely want to battle with actual graphics, this works too. So and weirdly it's a game that like I don't think there were anyone's actually really asking for, but at the same time, kind of like glad they made it anyway because it's something different.
Very fair.
By the way,
Um,
the state of this
I
guy's Pokemon.
will. Okay, I will say I have. I would worry that they had looked at this as being okay. We have a problem that like we've been told we need to put in DLC in Gala. What can we do?
Mm,
I don't know. Let's take a look at what have we done in the past with companion games.
yeah.
Well, we held back a rake of them and then sold another whole game in order to get that
Mm,
transferred across.
yeah.
And there's how Dexit came about.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that like, let's be fair. I think that point was always gonna come because like they're probably finding it so hard to import absolutely everything onto one. So like when you start reaching critical mass, you're gonna have to do something. Like you couldn't have just like import like what would happen next then with Scarlet and Violet was like import 1,000 Pokemon again. So I think just like the switch from 2D to 3D, I think was just like a good fair excuse to cull the list and like give yourself less donkey work to do. Could they perhaps just hired some staff? Yes, that is entirely possible. Could they have made this a little project where they just import things on the regular now that the Switch has this ability? Yes, they could have, but they didn't. So let's just move on. Like, are all the character models technically in Pokemon Go? So you could just have taken them off then. Yes, you're correct. Would they have held up to the HD graphics of Sword and Shield? No, because it didn't design them that way to begin with. It's like, for fuck's sake.
Well, with
Like,
this, I think I'd seen a bit out recently that between all of the games on Switch,
mm,
there are only about 7 to 10 that have absolutely no home in any game
yeah,
in the series. Those being Furfru,
mm.
the Elemental Monkeys, and I think Nebby.
Well, maybe you can understand because that was exclusive for for Alola. Like that's the legendary. Like it's yeah, you're kind of expecting it to be like that. I think the other ones like it's because like Furfu is like no one gives a shit about that one, and it's also one that takes up like a lot of unnecessary space in terms of like it's multiple different models and stuff like that. Like that's why like again, if I was making a ROM hack, I wouldn't bother with the likes of fucking um unknown and stuff like that because like that's 28 like carrot like 28 models and 28 Pokemon you don't fucking need. Whereas like you
Yep.
could replace all them, put 28 like actual families of Pokemon, and there you go, job done. And again, my hot take would be I wouldn't have shinies in my fan made game because that's like you're literally like saving half of your graphics there. You're saving half of your renders. And like it's now well now in fairness now at least with like if a modern project is on an RPG maker it's not as bad because everything's compressed and it's not too bad. But
Yep.
I can like the if you're doing like the old fucking advanced maps days, yeah, fuck those shinies. They don't need to exist. Like
Oh,
just
not even. I think that were they not programmatically generated? I don't think there
um
was. I'm not aware. Was there models for the shinies and like in those
I thought
games
they were.
already?
I think they are just by design because like like you basically get like a mathematical thing. It's like it's a one in such and such chance that this model appears and therefore it's a shiny. Like maybe I'm wrong with that now, but I don't think it's just a quick thing of like a palette change because I remember like I think the sprites themselves are a real thing. So like there is a sprite for like here's a shiny version of this. Now it's different for like again for fiddling about with RPG Maker, which I have done. Um like there's now for one Pokemon you've got four different sprites for each one because you've got male and female variants and you've got shiny variants for both. So every Pokemon is four sprites. I was like, that
Very.
is a lot of busy work. So that's understandable why you don't have 1,000 because again, that shit just ramps up after a while. Because yeah, that's a bit. You're talking about 4,000 character renders then on the game, and that's not including then variants like fucking what Miniors, Alchemies having like 60 to 80 fucking models for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
The Uncommons I mentioned before, the Furfroos, like just fuck off, like.
Yeah. I have absolutely no time for Alchemy.
No. Now, Alcremie is probably absolutely fine from a competitive side of it, but like again, I would just, I wouldn't bother with the gameplay, the character model. I just say, okay, what items are you matching it with? This and this, grand. Let's move on. Let's just pretend it's colored green, shall we? You
Yeah.
all have imaginations. Let's fucking use them, all right? You know. But like I said, and again, like I think that's also a like you can imagine. Well, here's a philosophical question for you: if if Sword and Shield came out and there was no Dexes but shinies were dropped, what would that have been a bigger fallout than the Dex being cold?
Oh. Oh. That is a question.
Yes.
I'd say if gender differences had been on the chopping block, I would have said yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I would have even been fine with okay, we've locked off Mega Evolution until DLC 3.
Yeah.
Like things delayed are absolutely fine, but things just withheld is where I'm like,
Mm.
wait, you're charging so much and we're getting less.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
But
thing.
sure,
Like it's just like,
we are where we are. Do you have any? Have you been checking any leaks, or do you have any notions as to what the plot of this? Like, it doesn't look like we're, Arceus decided to throw you into the deep end over here now.
no.
So
In terms of Legends EA or this game here.
yeah. In terms of the next game,
Uh, I don't know. Do you know what? It kind of feels like a sequel actually to X and Y, because it's very much in the future. So you got as actually like kind of existing normally with his flowets, and it's like okay, this is interesting. They seem to be kind of like it's a very urban game, which I think is a nice change of pace.
is it
Um,
future or is it just modern day? Like, is it just going to be here? We're 10 years on from
it's yeah,
that
pretty much. Yeah.
those mad shenanigans.
Yeah, it seems to be that way anyway. I'd say there is probably like 10 to 15, perhaps just like a generation skip. So like say if you went 20, 25 years difference to X and Y, I think that'd be reasonable enough. I did see a lot of people looking at the protagonists and thinking they look a little bit like Lyra and Ethan from Gen 2. I was thinking like that's an interesting premise because they did that with Legends Arceus, where like canonically that is Dawn or what's his name? Uh
Really, Lucas?
Lucas, that's his name. Yeah, because I think they are literally those characters, but they just got transported back to the past. But
Really?
in uh yeah, in canon it's the case like okay they're out like they're like a year after the events of like Generation 4. So like they're a little bit older and therefore able to look after themselves in this environment.
I'm
Eh,
absolutely mad. I didn't realize that.
yeah.
Um. Huh. Okay, so
I think so anyway. I could very well be wrong. I could talk
I
absolute fucking bollocks to that, but maybe I'm wrong.
want to go back and check that then, just to see,
Yeah.
because I didn't get a Gen 2 characters vibe from them.
I think people
No.
were just looking at the hair and the kind of the skin, the kind of like the how they look. They basically said like, okay, what if they're just like I think what kind of gave it away was the fact that like the hair aesthetics and the like Lyra's hat is the same color as it was in Crystal in as it is as a character here in DA is, and it is basically a case of like okay like your man's like Ethan's hair color is the same as well, so I think that's what's kind of giving it away a little bit.
I think all that I'd seen were people giving off about Dora.
Yeah, but yeah, that too actually doesn't help matters. Also, the other theory is that it's these are protagonists are the sons of Professor Sycamore, and it's because like the character models look very similar to Sycamore and the protagonist Mam from X and Y, so they got it on, and now this is our this is us. So. Which again begs the question, like, what, like, would that mean, like, the champion in this game is potentially like X and like Serena or Xavier, and it's like, oh, it's them as like middle-aged people. That's interesting.
This is going to be weird going back, because like so much about Gen 6 was just slated for
Yeah.
like at the time, like the champion. So I went back and I played X and Y on a hard mode mod. And really, you have one conversation in the cafe with the champion, and that's
Yeah.
all you see her until you go up to try and battle. She's such a non-presence.
Yeah.